morning, people. How do you do? It's good to see all of you on this beautiful Sunday morning. I am on my way to my club contest. This is a very exciting day in my life. I'm competing in 2 categories. I hope that my experience helps me to prevail, but I will let you know how that goes when we finish. But I want to have a conversation with you around the notion of help. I have held this notion. I have not been a fan of let's collect money and give people. The only type of people that I have raised public funds for have been creators. And for those creators, they were creators that were already working, and I was interested in helping people to raise revenue, to buy cameras, and to give them tools of their craft. And every time people come to me asking me to work on a fundraiser, I have this conversation with them, and one of them just came to me yesterday. Amma, over time I have come to understand and appreciate where you come from. So there is a person, I don't want to get into any of the details of who this person is, but there's a person who people collected money for a few months ago. And then people are back to collect money for that person again recently. And when the first round of money was being collected for her, this person comes to my inbox, and so we engage in conversation. I said to the person, look, this person is supposed to be a person who should not be here, given their family dynamics. If you have a sibling who's done well for himself, one of the first things, especially if that sibling is Ghanaian, one of the first things our culture will teach that sibling to do is to help to position his siblings. And so this sibling would have been a beneficiary of her siblings' generosity. Why is this sibling exactly where the sibling still is a question you need to ask. And I have heard stories about people around money that had been given to this particular person, which had been squandered. Usually it's to do with people she is with, swindling her out of the money or whatever. But yeah, the sibling had tried. Apparently the sibling had got tired. The sibling stopped trying. And so these guys collected money. And at the time I said to the person, the money collected is going to experience the same patterns because the underlying factors are not being addressed. You are treating symptoms whilst the causation still remains. Well, the symptoms will keep presenting themselves because the cause is still there. Fast forward last week, people were here telling stories about how this person is struggling to feed, and then another group of benefactors have collected money. And so my question becomes, how long would you collect money to donate to one person? How many times would one person need donations? Well, as many times as it takes, as long as the underlying factor is not addressed. If a person doesn't know how to manage money, collecting large sums of money to put in the person's hand is a waste of your time. That money will be mismanaged. If a person has high overlays, like I do, I have very high overlays, it does not matter what money comes into your system. That money will drain into the overlays, and after a short period of time you'll be back to square one. I see people, see homeless people, and they give them a hotel ticket to go get a warm place to sleep for one night. That is treating symptoms. He will be back on the street tomorrow. And after 3, 4, 5, one more week of being in the cold, that warm day will not really make much of a difference. If a person is on the street because they are substance abusers, they need rehab. They need rehab. If a person is in the streets homeless because they cannot afford to pay, what they need is a job or a business. Something that will give them money, and a business is usually not even a good starting point for a person who has not held down a job for a while. What they need is a job. something that will teach them discipline and guarantee them an income, so that they can learn the art of money management and self-management and be able to keep themselves and a roof over their head. If you really want to help an addict, you've got to treat the addiction first. And then you've got to get them in a situation where money can in-stream regularly. And at that point, that person is in a position to start having a roof over their head in a more sustained manner. That is more prudent than going to give them. You see somebody in the street, and I see this is very popular on YouTube. They see somebody on the street, they give them $3,000, $1,500, and if you've actually paid attention, months later, you will see these people back. Sometimes the very person who gave them money will be the one who discovers them, and they are brokenhearted about the help they gave this person having gone to zilch. These are some of the truths about it. You must build capacity in people before you elevate them to places. And it's not just with people who are homeless. You have a family member, you decide to make them the manager of your business. They have no management capacity built. You just one day plug them out of nowhere and you plunk them into your business. They are going to sink your business. They would, because the capacity building that should have preceded elevation did not happen. You will cry and you will make them cry. You will put them in very unfortunate positions because they have not been strategic. Help must be strategic. There are some people whose help must start with education. There are some people you cannot get them a job because they have no skills. For those people, the help you want to offer must start from scaling them up, giving them something tangible that could then be offered to an employer in exchange for a salary. You may rent a place for them, but you must give them something to sustain themselves. It's very common amongst the Nigerian Facebookers also. They go to find mama with her 3 children in the streets. They ask, there's a guy, his name includes Lemon. I think it's Dr. Lemon. If you know who he is, remind me. Something Lemon. Lucky Udu is another one who does it. There are quite a few people who go around. They raise money, they give people, and then after a while, they will discover some of these people have taken the money. They've done nothing except return. There was one famous woman with 3 children who was pulled, and they rented a house for her. And after 3 minutes, the guy who was responsible for all these children and for taking the money from her and ending her in the streets was back in the accommodation that had been rented. Yeah, because the underlying factors were not addressed. The underlying factors were not addressed. If a person lacks discipline, they must be taught discipline before you put them in any position. Even with getting them a job. Sometimes getting them a job is not the first thing you should do, because some people do not have the discipline for maintaining a job. You can find them a job but they'll be fired tomorrow because they do not have the discipline of showing up regularly and on time. You don't have that discipline. And if you really want to help them, and if you want that help to be sustainable, it is better to start from that discipline. It's much better to start from the discipline that the person needs in order to sustain where you will elevate them to. But one of the common ones is money. If a person doesn't know how to manage money, that explains why a person hasn't managed money. A person who has held a good job before, who has had a good spouse, or somebody who is receiving child support from a spouse. There's a person who lives and the person is on state support, but they cannot still keep a roof over their head regardless of some of the support that has been available to them. People have collected money for them in the past, but they have returned to the same place that they were found. Well, before you jump in to help such people, my question is, have you really done the diagnosis? Do you know the causation for the problem that you are attempting to fix? If you know the causation, great, go right ahead and do it. It is a wonderful thing for you to do. It is fantastic then people are willing to help. It's amazing. Everybody deserves a chance. Give people a chance. But when you are going to give people a chance, can you actually check your chance and make sure that it's a real chance and not an arbitrary chance? Make it a real chance. Make it something that would help them to get out of a situation. Don't just make it a surface polished gift that will not lead to any sustainable outcomes. And so, as I said, paying for a hotel for a drug addict for a night, for me, what difference will one night of warmth make to all the other cold nights that they are about to have? Not much. Take that money you are going to use for the few days of hotel and get them in a rehab. When you get them in a rehab, get them in a rehab that provides long-term rehabilitation and transitions them into survival. Don't bail somebody, a thief, from custody and throw them back into the wide world. Guess what? They will be thieving some more. 6 months later, they will be arrested again, because the reasons why they were thieving in the first place has not been addressed, and so they will return to that. This person I was speaking to is so heartbroken about people that she has tried to redeem and has discovered are not redeemable. Now I'm explaining to her, it's not that the people are not redeemable, it's that your redemption strategy was flawed. Your redemption strategy was flawed. You need to check that your redemption strategy has been made sustainable. Don't do short-term redemption. It doesn't really lead anywhere. It gets you to this disappointment that you are currently feeling. Short-term redemption is of no use to nobody. Strategic long-term redemption, redemption that takes you out of a situation and you never return there. That one. Redemption that starts with commitment from the person being redeemed, because they have to do the most work. If a person is going to change, they will have to do more work than anybody else who is here on the program to help them get there. The redeemer might be very committed, but the person you are redeeming must be also committed to work with you to get there. If your person is not willing, you are wasting your time. This is the fundamental reason why I don't do a lot of fundraisers on my page. Because at the moment, I've got so much going on in my life that I am not able to commit to the long-term rehabilitation, the long-term reprogramming, the reorientation that my effort will require to become long-term sustainable. That's why. And that you are selfish. Maybe true. At the moment, I've got to focus on self. I don't qualify for philanthropy. So maybe the selfish accusation is true. But it's not the only factor in play. I am incapable. I am incapable of doing this well. So what's the point in doing something and doing it half-heartedly? Just so that you guys will see me look like I am trying to help, when I know in my heart that I am actually not able to help. No point. And it's better for you guys to know me in my true state. Selfish, self-focused. I do unto self first, and then I extend unto others. Grace is extended to me first, and I make no apologies for that. But when I am in a position to be able to extend grace to people and extend it properly, and to do the work it takes to make grace count, I will lock in and I will do it. But until then, I invite those of you, and the people who are dealt with that way themselves get very frustrated, because the rhetoric begins to look like they are irresponsible. They are also made to look bad by some of these efforts to rehabilitate that are unsuccessful. Like this story, for example, the person who comes to me and says, they collected money from her in July. Yeah, they collected money again in October. Oh, They have the video that she sent to me was somebody who was adding up to some significantly large amounts of money. But yeah, those significantly large amounts of money will be squandered by a person who was not prepared to cope. A person who did not know what to do. By a person whose only knowledge is to spend money, without accounting. You can give them $1 million. This is explained by a lot of the lottery winners. Many of the lottery winners, very few of them actually managed to make it strategic because they were not people who had the knowledge, who had the skills, who had the capacity to sustain that money they gained by chance. And so they are giving millions, they blow millions, and after a few years they are back to the same positions that they started. Some of them buy property and the property is repossessed because they are not able to. They will start selling off the assets that they acquired and they are back to the same spot. Well, they were never really prepared. Those who manage to make lottery wins sustainable are people who tend to have external systems in place. And it's one of the things that I think the lotteries always need to provide to their winners in order to make the story sustainable over an extended period of time. But yeah, a person winning the lottery is unlikely to be able to manage it. A person inheriting a large sum of money without the discipline of making the money struggles to sustain it. That's why inheritance is also usually blown. Those who inherit have undergone nothing to prepare them for the money. They don't know the amount of work it takes to make this money. It came to them just like that one day. And so they will go off and buy a Mercedes the next day. Those of us who have been here and have worked for every dime that we get, we do not go buying a Mercedes the next day. We buy the same rickety old car and we drive it for a decade. We do. And even as people laugh, since we have seen you on Facebook, you have only been in one car. Yeah, I've only been in one car that I own outright and I explain to nobody for. Yeah. No, I'm not about to go blow any money for nothing because I have learned the discipline of making the money myself. The discipline of making the money goes a long way in maintaining that money and elevating from that point. That's why rich people children often struggle to amount to a lot. It comes to them easy. They have no preparation. They don't understand. It just happens to be there. If they go to mom and dad and cry, they will get it. And so when they have it, they have no urgency to hang on to it. Yeah. You must prepare people, I believe. So I take my children through quite a lot. I started taking my children to negotiating tables a long time ago. When I get orders, my children help to work to execute the order. We make the money together, we spend the money together. And now when I listen to my children talk about the pocket money they receive, especially my son, because he works, he tutors, and the money that comes from his tutoring together with the pocket money he gets off us is money he manages much better. Much better. What teaches that discipline is a process, and I think it is absolutely critical that people get a chance to learn these processes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. too early. I think I have. Anyway, let's go down and see. I greet all of you. I hope your day is going well. I pray that these conversations we have at least conscientize you. I pray that you understand what it really takes to help, and that when you actually commit to help, you know exactly what you are offering. When you really commit to help, I hope you understand what it is you are offering, and you are strategic in that offering, and it benefits the recipients of your help holistically. You should touch people, and their life should never be the same again. You should intervene and be so successful that your people no longer need intervention. I love you loads, but I am all over the place. I'm lost. Where is this one going? Where is he going? Wow. Anyway, let me love you. Let me leave you. Let me get here and figure out the next steps to where I need to be. I am certainly in the vicinity of where I need to be, but I is lost. I need to find my way home. So have yourselves a beautiful day, and I will see you, well, more likely when the contest is underway. I will be in touch. Okay? Alright. Bye bye everyone. See you soon. Oh, there's a subway. Maybe I should stop in a subway and get some breakfast. Then we can decide what we do next. Yeah. Okay guys. See you tomorrow. Or this afternoon. Whenever the time happens to be prime. Bye bye.